If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns may have finally picked up their first win of the season, but the larger picture hasn't really changed. Even with that temporary high, the franchise continues to feel like it's locked into a cycle that Browns fans know all too well. Instability at quarterback, flashes of hope that don't quite hold, and the ever-present lure of the upcoming NFL draft. For a city desperate for consistency at the game's most important position, the conversation is already moving beyond Dillon Gabriel, beyond SHEDEUR Sanders, and toward what's coming in 2026. It feels like a broken record, but one that the city keeps playing on repeat, hoping that maybe this time, the right notes will finally fall into place. Right now, the Browns are still rolling with Joe Flacco, the veteran quarterback who's keeping things steady for the moment. But everyone in Cleveland knows he's not the long-term answer. He's a bridge, a placeholder, someone to hold down the fort until either Gabriel or Sanders shows enough promise to convince the front office, or until the team decides to reset once again. Both Gabriel, out of Oregon, and Sanders, out of Colorado, bring intrigue and potential, but also plenty of question marks. They're rookies, they're raw, and in Cleveland, that usually comes with a magnifying glass that burns hotter than anywhere else in the league. The Browns can't afford to miss again, not after so many years of disappointment under center. That's why this talk about 2026 isn't just premature speculation, it's reality creeping in. Ken Carman, the outspoken voice of 92.3 The Fan, put it bluntly on his radio show this week. He said fans need to get comfortable with the idea that the Browns will be taking another quarterback in the 2026 NFL Draft. His words weren't cautious, they weren't hedged, they were matter of fact. Get comfortable with one of the QBs, because you are going to take one, he warned. And in Cleveland, hearing those words isn't shocking anymore. It's almost expected. Carman even went so far as to say that Browns fans should be rooting for Penn State's Drew Aller to make a statement this season, not just against Oregon, but also in a massive showdown with Ohio State in November. That way, when draft season rolls around, Cleveland fans can at least picture what the future might look like with someone like Aller leading the charge. That's the thing about this upcoming draft class in 2026. It isn't just another group of quarterbacks. It's a set of players who could very well redefine what the Browns' offense looks like for years to come. Drew Aller headlines the conversation. At Penn State, he's been praised for his size, arm strength, and ability to command the field. Then there's Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, another name that's been gaining traction as scouts start to take notice. Add in South Carolina's LaNorris Sellers, a dynamic playmaker, and Clemson's Cade Klubnik, who's been groomed to take over as the Tigers' next great leader, and suddenly the Browns have options. Options they may not be able to pass up if Gabriel and Sanders don't show significant flashes by the end of this season. What complicates matters even more is the draft capital Cleveland has heading into next spring. With 2 first-round picks in their pocket, the Browns are armed and dangerous, ready to move up the board if the quarterback they love is sitting just out of reach. That's the type of flexibility that front offices dream of, especially when searching for a franchise quarterback. It's also the type of asset that puts extra pressure on Gabriel and Sanders. Because if either of them wants to prove they belong, if either of them truly wants to be Cleveland's future, they'll need to do it fast. The window for proving yourself as a rookie quarterback in the NFL is shrinking by the year, and with draft capital like this, the Browns can't afford to wait around. The harsh truth is that Gabriel and Sanders are already fighting an uphill battle. For Gabriel, the challenge is proving that his playstyle can translate from Oregon's system into the NFL grind. He's got the arm talent, no doubt about it, but consistency and decision-making are still major questions. Sanders, meanwhile, carries the weight of his last name and the spotlight that comes with it. Being Deion Sanders' son means expectations are already sky-high, and while his flashes at Colorado were electric, the NFL is a different beast entirely. Both quarterbacks will almost certainly get opportunities later in the season, when the games mean less in the standings, but everything in terms of evaluation. And that's when the real story will unfold. But if neither one shows that spark, if neither one gives the Browns enough of a reason to believe, then the franchise will do what it's always done. They'll turn their eyes to the draft board, circle the names of quarterbacks, and get ready to start the cycle again. It's almost a guarantee at this point. Fans know it, Analysts know it, and even Carmen knows it. That's why he's already calling his shot on the radio. It's not so much a prediction as it is an inevitability. Cleveland's history makes it nearly impossible to believe otherwise. Of course, there's still a chance, however slim, that one of these rookies could seize the moment. We've seen stranger things happen in the NFL. A player written off by fans and media can suddenly flip the script with a few breakout performances. It doesn't happen often in Cleveland, but that doesn't mean it can't happen now. If Gabriel can settle into the pocket and deliver consistent throws, or if Sanders can use his mobility and playmaking ability to ignite the offense, maybe, just maybe, the Browns can avoid hitting reset again in 2026. But betting on that outcome feels like betting against history, and Browns fans know all too well how that usually ends. Still, hope is what keeps this fan base alive. Every season brings new faces, new energy, and new reasons to believe that the narrative can finally change. Maybe Gabriel will be the one to break the curse. Maybe Sanders will live up to the expectations his last name demands. Maybe Joe Flacco can somehow hold the line long enough for the rookies to learn and grow without being thrown into the fire too soon. It's not impossible, it just feels improbable. And when improbability meets the long history of heartbreak in Cleveland, the safe bet always seems to lean toward disappointment. So here we are, not even halfway through the season, and the conversations about 2026 are already in full swing. Browns fans aren't strangers to this timeline. They've lived it countless times before. The names change, the draft classes rotate, the scouting reports get rewritten, but the story stays the same. Cleveland, once again, is chasing the dream of stability at quarterback. Once again, they're looking toward the future for a savior. And once again, the city waits with cautious optimism, bracing for either the miracle they've long deserved or the heartbreak they've come to expect. In the end, it all comes down to whether Gabriel or Sanders can seize their shot. If they can, the future in Cleveland could look dramatically different. If they can't, then Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Lonorris Sellers, Cade Klubnik, or another rising star will become the next name etched into the long list of quarterbacks linked to the Browns. Either way, the conversation is far from over. It's just beginning. For now, the Browns will play out this season, balancing the present with an eye on the future. But the writing is already on the wall. A new quarterback may very well be headed to Cleveland in 2026, and fans might want to prepare themselves for yet another turn of the carousel. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The story that has been making waves across sports talk shows, fan forums, and social media timelines in the last hours is nothing short of explosive. What began as a routine discussion about rising young quarterbacks took a dramatic turn when Travis Kelce, yes, the all-pro tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs, allegedly delivered a sharp and uncompromising message regarding none other than SHEDEUR Sanders. For anyone even remotely following the trajectory of SHEDEUR, the son of the legendary Deion Sanders and current college football star, this rumor has all the ingredients of a national controversy. A seasoned veteran who has seen it all at the NFL level, a young gun expected to shape the next decade of football, and the Cleveland Browns suddenly caught in the storm like they never imagined. The energy around this situation has escalated so quickly that people are already labeling it as a national shock, and the Browns' internal atmosphere, according to whispers, has boiled into nothing short of euphoria mixed with chaos. The alleged comment from Kelce reportedly wasn't subtle, and that is exactly why it hit the nerve it did. This wasn't the kind of carefully packaged media-friendly soundbite that players tend to drop to keep their public images polished. It came across as a genuine, raw, and perhaps even emotional statement. Kelce, known for his swagger on and off the field, has built a reputation for being outspoken when he feels strongly about something. The rumor mill insists that he told people in his inner circle, later leaked into the public sphere, that SHEDEUR still has miles to go before being taken seriously at the pro level, and that some teams, particularly the Browns, might be getting ahead of themselves by seeing him as the instant savior of a franchise in desperate need of stability. If true, this is not just a critique, it's a thunderclap directed at the very heart of the SHEDEUR hype machine, and naturally, it didn't take long for fans, analysts, and insiders to run wild with speculation. For SHEDEUR himself, this couldn't have come at a more sensitive moment. He is still carving out his identity, standing on the huge platform his father helped build while also trying to separate his own path from the shadow of primetime. He has been described as mature, poised, and fearless under pressure, qualities that have drawn NFL scouts to his every game. Yet the NFL is ruthless, and the leap from college stardom to professional consistency is one of the hardest transitions in all of sports. If KELCE's words are as harsh as they're being reported, it underlines the skepticism that still lingers among veteran players who have seen countless college phenoms crumble under the weight of expectations. To have a name like Travis Kelce doubting you, even indirectly, can either fuel a young player to prove the critics wrong or start sowing seeds of doubt. The entire football community is now waiting to see which direction SHEDEUR takes. The Cleveland Browns, however, appear to be the unintended epicenter of this storm. The franchise has lived through an exhausting carousel of quarterbacks for decades, each new name presented as the next savior only to fizzle out in spectacular or disappointing fashion. With Deshaun Watson's tenure riddled with controversy and inconsistency, the Browns fanbase is desperate for a glimmer of hope. And the rumor linking SHEDEUR to Cleveland had already set off wild excitement before KELCE's words poured gasoline onto the fire. Instead of rallying calmly around the potential of landing a young star, insiders now say the Browns' locker room and front office are in what can only be described as ebullition. Some see KELCE's comment as a challenge, a gauntlet thrown that they'd love for SHEDEUR to pick up and prove wrong in a Browns uniform. Others are questioning whether this kind of national buzz is healthy for a franchise already walking a tightrope between promise and collapse. From a narrative perspective, this rumor is almost too perfect. On one side, you have KELCE, a three-time Super Bowl champion, one of the most decorated tight ends in history, and a man whose voice carries undeniable authority in NFL circles. On the other, you have SHEDEUR, a young talent brimming with confidence, carrying the Sanders family name, and embodying a generational shift in football culture. And then, hovering like a storm cloud, you have the Cleveland Browns, a franchise historically starved for glory, perpetually caught between bold decisions and painful missteps. It is no wonder that sports fans across the country have latched onto this story with such intensity. It has drama, legacy, and the possibility of real consequences if the rumor is true. The most fascinating part of this saga is the way it blurs the line between rumor and reality. There is no official statement, no press conference, no soundbite on national television. Yet the conversation feels tangible, almost undeniable. This is the power of modern sports culture. A whisper spreads, a phrase is shared by insiders, and within hours it becomes a full-fledged national debate. Travis Kelce's supposed words are now being dissected like courtroom evidence, with some claiming it's all exaggerated gossip, while others argue that it perfectly reflects what many veterans think privately about the younger generation of players. In the absence of clarity, the rumor itself becomes the story, and the reaction it generates is what keeps the fire burning. Meanwhile, Browns fans are split down the middle. Some see KELCE's supposed jab as an insult to their team, as if he is dismissing their ability to nurture and develop a young star. They feel disrespected, once again put in the position of being the NFL's punchline. Others, however, are embracing the chaos. They argue that if the Browns do indeed make a move for SHEDEUR in the future, having this kind of national buzz only intensifies the drama and the stakes. They want to see SHEDEUR walk into Cleveland, fueled by doubt, ready to silence every critic. And if he does that, the narrative of his career could take on legendary proportions, the kind of story that cements a player in NFL folklore. For SHEDEUR himself, the pressure is immense, but also familiar. Growing up under the guidance of Deion Sanders has meant living in the spotlight, handling scrutiny, and embracing the challenge of silencing doubters. The KELCE rumor might just be another test in a long line of trials he has already faced. The way he handles this, whether he responds publicly, lets his play do the talking, or even leans into the controversy, will be telling about the maturity everyone credits him for. For Travis Kelce, the truth is that his reputation allows him to speak his mind in ways other players cannot. Whether he actually said these words or not, the public perception is that he could have, and that alone gives the rumor weight. His legacy as a champion and leader in Kansas City makes any criticism he delivers, even indirectly, carry enormous impact. The Browns front office, caught in the middle of this, now has to decide how to steer through the storm. Do they fan the flames by showing interest in SHEDEUR and riding the wave of publicity, or do they distance themselves to avoid the distraction that could split the locker room? Already, unnamed sources are suggesting heated debates behind closed doors, with some executives salivating at the thought of a fresh start with a young quarterback, while others fear repeating the cycle of putting too much pressure on unproven talent. This kind of rumor, even if unconfirmed, forces a franchise to confront its deepest insecurities and biggest ambitions all at once. What makes this entire situation so compelling is that it feels bigger than just football. It is about generational clashes, about veterans questioning whether the new wave of stars has truly earned their hype, about fan bases desperate for hope clashing with the harsh realities of the NFL. It's about the Browns' eternal struggle for legitimacy, about the Sanders family's continuing saga, and about Travis Kelce's undeniable presence in the league's cultural spotlight. The lines between fact and rumor are blurred, but the energy it creates is real, tangible, and electric. This is what keeps the NFL at the heart of American sports culture. Drama that feels as scripted as a movie but unfolds in real time, with real players, real stakes, and real consequences. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!